Hey everybody! I wanted to do something special with this video and walk through my gouache painting process. I kind of use gouache like watercolors, so you could definitely apply anything I talk about here just to watercolor. So yeah, let's get started. You can see that I masked out the edges with masking tape, and that's to keep it nice and flat. And now I'm just blocking in colors to help with the composition and the flow. So you can see that I have a bit of a circle of yellow in the middle, and that's to help enforce those shapes that I used to make a kind of circular flow in the bottom middle of the painting with the way the robes are blowing in the wind and the placement of the two suns. Here I'm using a masking fluid to mask out any places that I want to stay white, like the suns and some of the highlights on the clothing. I forgot to record myself painting in the sky, which I was really bummed about because that was my favorite part, and as well as the mountains in the background. But you get the idea. It was basically just big, broad washes around, and then I got to go, because I had the masking fluid over the suns, I could just go right over those. But here I'm blocking out just the colors, basic colors for Obi-Wan and Luke here. And even though it looks like Obi-Wan's robe is brown, it's actually a mix of orange and I think I used orange red and ultramarine blue for his robe. And the way in some of the places you can see some of that ultramarine blue showing up, and I kind of like that. Other people might not. It's just because I didn't mix the colors super well. So it makes this kind of cool marbling effect with gouache, which I love. So here I'm adding in the shading, and when I do shading, I hardly ever use black unless I just can't get my colors to get dark enough. When I do shading, I simply take the base color and add its complement. And you can play around with this. It's super fun to play with. You can use different temperatures of the colors with your paint tubes, and you really get some good results when you use a complementary color to shade as opposed to just using black or brown or just a dark color that you already have mixed in a tube. I basically didn't do any black shading in this entire video. I think I did a little black shading with the metal parts, but I like to do that with metal because I want it to stand out as something that's not natural. Okay, so here I'm just adding in details. You can see my palette there for a second. If you want to pause and look at my palette, that might be useful. I don't use, you can see for yourself that I don't use hardly any black. There might be a tiny bit of black in there. But yeah, I put in a little highlight there for the speeder window. I kind of wish I did that with masking fluid at the beginning, but I forgot that that was there, so. But the gouache works pretty well, white over another color. The way I use it, like watercolors, it doesn't work as well as the normal way people would use gouache. So here I'm putting in just the details, kind of the outlines and the characters. Because it's a pretty small painting, I couldn't really make it painterly in the details, so I kind of just have to use outlines. But they're pretty subtle outlines. And I think it works well with my style. So it's sort of a blend between classic painting and kind of a drawing illustration with outlines. So here I'm adding in I just added in some of those details, and now I'm taking the masking fluid off, and you could really see how it was nice and bright underneath there. And then after I took the masking fluid off of one of those suns, I colored it red, just like in the movie. Alright, so here I'm taking off my masking tape all the way around. This is my favorite part of the entire painting, is taking off this tape, because it's just the moment when I can really see the painting in its beautifulness without that grungy tape all around the edges. It just really comes together at this moment, and it's a great feeling. So yeah, here's the end result. It's, I'm trying to think how big this is. It's probably like 6 by 9, I want to say. It's not a huge painting, but a little big for my standards. Here's after I photoshopped it a bit. But yeah, I just use my watercolors the way I use my, or I use my gouache the way I use my watercolors, and this was the result. I really love the vibrancy of the Star Wars color scheme, and especially on Tatooine, so I really had fun playing with that. And adding those highlights in with the backlight always has a really nice result, as long as you know, you pay attention to where the light would be hitting. So you can see that, like, the top of Luke's thigh there, I decided that the backlight wouldn't be hitting there, so I didn't put a highlight on that edge. Same with the bottom part of Obi-Wan's robes, because he's behind the speeder, or he's in front of the speeder and the sun is behind, he wouldn't have a highlight on those robes. So just paying attention to details like that can really go a long way in making your picture look realistic, even if the colors aren't exactly realistic. You can see that I used really bright colors in this piece, which wouldn't exactly exist in real life, but make an interesting picture, I guess. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little walkthrough I did. If you want to ask any questions, I'd be totally happy to. Just leave them in the comments down there. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day, and go make something.